Well, welcome back, adventurer, to the land of the unliving. My name is Tyson Fraley, and I'm very happy to welcome you to the last episode of our Curse of Strahd series. Today we're going to be covering all of the major individuals your players are going to encounter while in Barovia. Because this series is a very quick summary, I'm going to just be designating each character into two attributes. The first one is going to be their goals. The second one is going to be their demeanor, how they act, so on and so forth. First up, we have Rectavio Von Richten. Von Richten is more on a vengeful quest against all vampires entirely. Von Richten's youngest son was captured and killed by vampires, and his wife died of grief over that event. Von Richten has spent his life essentially slaughtering and looking to kill vampires at any chance that he's had. The only other person that Rectavio has really let into his life is Esmerelda de Avir. We're going to speak about her in just a second, but overall, Rectavio's goal is to kill as many vampires as possible, and his demeanor is it's a bit harsh, it's very cold. His biggest flaw is that he believes he's cursed, that anything he touches or any people around him are in danger. So it should be a very cold, mostly trying to push people away, but if the players are invested and want to make sure that he's an ally, then he's going to, at the very least, pretend to not care about them whatsoever. It's going to be mostly, this is a job, I'm not here to be your friend. Next up, we're going to talk about Esmerelda. Esmerelda is a former Vistani that is now an apprentice, or was an apprentice to Rectavio Von Richten. He abandoned her at one point or other before going into Barovia, and now she's found her way in. The interesting aspect about Esmerelda is that she's a Vistani, the group of people that are dedicated to Strahd and Barovia. She was also part of the family that kidnapped and murdered Rectavio's son. So there's a lot of guilt there. She doesn't like what the Vistani are doing. She hates vampires just as much as Rectavio. Esmerelda's biggest goal at the beginning is to kill Strahd, because she's able to find herself into Castle Ravenloft. That's where your party could encounter her for the first time. Her other goal is to find Rectavio and be able to team up with him to figure out how to kill Strahd. As far as her demeanor goes, she can be played closer to Rectavio in his mannerisms and that sort of things, and kind of how people adopt each other's mannerisms over time. But she's a little bit more upbeat, she's a little bit more hopeful. It's also worth noting her Vistani background. It might be a little bit sad for her being in Barovia and having to face off against what was at one point considered her family. Next up, Irina. This is the young woman that Strahd believes is the reincarnation of Tatiana. Her goals kind of shift depending on the situation. At the very beginning, her major goal is to bury her father, who is the burgomaster of the town of Barovia. The next goal after that is being able to move to Vallaki or Krezk, depending on what your party is suggested to do. After that, it's mostly survival. If she is able to get herself into a situation where she might be able to help kill Strahd, she'll do it. If she needs to hide away, she'll do it. It's really just between her and her brother Ismark. It's just survival above all things. As far as her demeanor, she doesn't care what anybody thinks. She's going to do what she has to do. And she's going to fight anybody who gets in her way. Erwin and the Keepers of the Feather have the main goal of getting Strahd and all of the other vampires out of Barovia. The problem is that they don't necessarily have the resources to do it. So they're essentially just biding their time, trying to keep spirits up with their wine here in Barovia, and just trying to keep everyone's head above water. Overall demeanor for the Keepers of the Feather, try to aim for, silent watchers, very cloak and dagger, waiting for the moment to strike, and are eager to be able to do so if it's something to help the party. The werewolf community. Hates Strahd, wants him dead. Yeah. Next up, Casimir. Casimir is a dusk elf who, after believing that his sister became the bride of Strahd, had her stoned to death and inevitably caused Strahd to have the entire female community of the dusk elves wiped out, so they could never reproduce. Oh, Casimir. Casimir is, it's a great question how Casimir is doing. He's not doing well. None of the Dusk Elves are. Casimir is above all things repentant and wants to make up for his sister's death, though he is not, forgiving sort fully. He wants to make up for what happened to Petrova, but he's not very forgiving to anyone else. Overall demeanor, guilt-ridden and deeply sad, but hides it very well and is ready to destroy because of that. Next up, the Abbot. The Abbot is living in the Abbey of St. Markova and was once, you know, an angel, a full-on angel that came down to fight Strahd and then became corrupted and started to believe that people needed to be changed, but not like on a emotional or moral level, like on a physical level. So now it's just a full-on angel that is inside the abbey that is taking dead body parts and making people kind of. There's an entire section about how the Abbot believes 100% that he is doing a good thing because he just believes that Strahd is lonely. At first he came down to destroy Strahd, but then Strahd showed up and was just like, I am so deeply alone and I just need a friend. And so now the Abbot has built him a bride. I don't know how to tell you how excited I am by this character. This is just some Frankenstein level stuff. And his demeanor? Very high and mighty. Definitely not all there. Next up, Babalai Saga. Babalai Saga lives in the ruins of Berez, which was a former town, inside her house with chicken feet. Her entire purpose is to try and kill the Keepers of the Feather. She's heard about them, she doesn't know exactly what they're up to, but has begun stealing things from the Wizards of Wines to be able to figure out what exactly is going on. Her major goal is to protect Strahd above all things. She believes that she's actually the true mother of Strahd. She was one of the handmaidens when Strahd was born, and began to cast magics on him, making him into what she deemed a perfect creature. Remember back when Strahd invited his mother and his little brother Sergei to come and stay with him at Castle Ravenloft? Yeah, she's the one who killed the mom. Her overall demeanor? Very overprotective. Helicopter parent, but from a distance. She wants to control everything that interacts with Strahd to make sure that he is entirely safe, but also can't get too close because Strahd doesn't know that she exists. So to protect against that, she has a series of witches that live inside of Castle Ravenloft that have gained Strahd's trust, that kind of whisper her information about his doings. Rahaden. Rahaden is Strahd's right-hand man. Rahaden was once part of the Dusk Elf community before he was kicked out because he questioned leadership. Above all things, Rahaden wants to keep Strahd safe by any means necessary. Rahaden has murdered so many people on the part of Strahd that if the party gets within 5 feet of him, they actually hear the screams of all of the people he enjoyed murdering. He was also the one that killed off all of the women in the Dusk Elf community. Overall demeanor? Loyal to a fault, will listen to any order, and just following orders. Ultimately, seems to either have a deep, entrenched hatred for Dusk Elves, or pretty much feels nothing at all. You know, we're gonna talk about Piddlewick 2. Piddlewick 2 is a jester toy that was built for Tatiana while she was still alive, after she really loved the work of a different Piddlewick. The thing is, Piddlewick 2 is not nearly as good a jester as he would really hope. He has a terrible identity crisis when he realizes that he's just a toy made to replicate just a different person named Piddlewick. So Piddlewick 2 killed Piddlewick 1, and after Tatiana died, Strahd just kind of shrugged and was just like, alright, I guess wherever he is, that's fine. Piddlewick 2 now hides in the rafters of the bedrooms, waiting for someone to stay the night and to smother them in their sleep. So many scary options with this character. Demeanor, like, just overall creepy. Just make Piddlewick 2 creepy. That's fine. Piddlewick 2's goal, kill people. That's about it. He's not a very complex character. He's just really creepy and is a great piece of just like world building you can set in there. Isaac Strasny. Isaac Strasny is essentially the right-hand man of the Burgomaster in Vallaki. More than likely, the party's not going to find out more about Isaac's background, but just in case they do, Isaac was taken in by the Burgomaster and has since essentially turned into a straight-up sociopath. Willing to do anything that the Burgomaster asks. He also has been requesting a lot of toys made of this vision of a woman that he's so sure he knows, all of which look very similar to Irina. As it turns out, Irina is not the biological daughter of the Burgomaster in Barovia, but is instead the sister of Izek. Izek and Irina's family were part of a village that was assaulted by Strahd. They were both able to escape, though by different avenues, and everyone just assumed Irina died. Izek's goals are do whatever the Burgomaster of Vallaki says, and find whoever this mysterious Irina woman is. Overall demeanor? Unfeeling, doesn't care about anyone or anything, just enjoys killing. Madame Eva. Madame Eva appears at the beginning of the story. It's less likely that you're going to see Madame Eva take a major story role in this, aside from that, but as if we all know D&D, anything can happen. Madame Eva says that she's Vistani, and that is true to a certain extent, but what she hides from others is that she's also the secret half-sister of Strahd. Strahd's father had an affair with one of the Vistani, and thus she was created. She essentially aligns herself to be the middle ground between all things moral in Barovia. She doesn't really have a standing on anything. Madame Eva will bring people into Barovia, but she'll also be critical of Strahd's standing. Her entire goal essentially is to figure out a way to bring Strahd down, to reveal herself, and to finally fix all of the madness that is going on in Barovia. She's a very dual-sided character, so make sure to lean into that. She can be a little bit of a bridge, a little bit getting the party into the situation, but also has the possibility of betraying them if they're really pursuing her. More likely than not, she's just gonna kind of ignore them. Overall demeanor, scheming, cold, but secretly does have a lot of feelings towards Strahd, both positive and negative. She's a very conflicted character. Mordenkainen. Mordenkainen, I mean, has gone pretty much nuts in the mountains. If the party's able to save his sanity, then Mordenkainen essentially offers a great addition to the team. He is very suspicious of all the players, pretty much at all times. He knows the dangers of having people who are after power, especially when arcane essence is attributed to that. He's willing to form a very tense alliance. He's not going to listen to everything the party says, nor does he expect that the party's going to listen to everything he says. And as long as the party's able to prove that they're not just after Castle Ravenloft and just taking up the mantle that Strahd has put in place, then Mordenkainen is usually able to just kind of relax a little bit more and be able to respect the party to a certain extent. Overall goals, Mordenkainen wants to stop Strahd. Overall demeanor, suspicious, very powerful, and is willing to bide his time to make sure that everything is going to go to plan. A little bit of a control freak, but also just someone who has survived this long as a powerful mage and expects to continue living on. And that's pretty much it. These are all the major characters your players could interact with, and all of these are just very quick overviews. And also, please feel free if you're thinking about a character and you want to add something, like if you want to make Rahaden a little bit more of a sympathetic character, like someone who gave in to hate and now is just haunted by the voices, sure, do it. All of these are just basic outlines that you can take and to be able to flesh out the characters more to your liking in the moment. These are just, again, very quick summaries to offer you an idea of what Barovia is like. So, until next time, adventurer, remember, game on, my friends.